Thanks so much for having us today. I want to thank particularly Kevin Conlon and his staff for putting this whole program together and for being a really good sport about keeping us all to the 10-minute time limit. You'll see that I've started a new hashtag for the conference, but I say that with sympathy because I know it's hard to be the heavy, but I'm really appreciating the crisp and quick pace of the presentation. So thank you, Kevin, for doing that for us. Tyranny of 10 minutes. My name is Sarah Turner. I'm the Dean at the Cranbrook Academy of Art, and I'm joined by Trisha Holt, who is our Academic Programs Coordinator. We were preparing this short talk on disruptive programming for a presentation today, and at the same time, we were reading this little pamphlet, Against Competition by Mark Fisher. This does not have anything to do with the content of our talk, but it really sets the spirit, I think, for the whole conference. So we brought you some copies. They're around on the backs of the chairs. We didn't bring enough for everyone, I confess, but in the spirit of sharing widely, the publisher has made those available for free download on half-letter press. So I think it would serves a lot of the foundations of the conversations that we've been hearing today. So I welcome you to take a look at that. I wanted to just make one short word about Cranbrook because it does underline or sort of underlie some of our ideas today. We are a graduate-only program. We don't have any undergraduate students at all, and while that gives us a certain freedom, and you'll hear about that, the committee that reviewed the applications for this conference really asked us to speak to how our ideas might translate to other programs with undergraduate students and more conventional curricular structures. So although we're going to dream a little bit, we will also try to speak to that as well.
Two of the key programs that Sarah and I work with at Cranbrook are a critical studies program and a public lecture series. Our aim with both of the programs is to bring a really wide range of visitors to the Academy that we curate really intentionally to agitate, disrupt, complement, and vary the conversations and what's happening in our 10 studio departments. We know many of you build programs similar to this, and if you're in the lunchtime conversation, a lot of this will be very familiar.
So today we'd like to share what we see as the key components to making these successful and also the challenges that we face in doing this kind of programming. And then we're going to dream a little bit about how our approaches at Cranbrook could move out to ACAD schools and to undergraduate programs. Over the 6 years that we've been doing both the Critical Studies Fellowship and the Public Lecture Series and Visitors Series, we've found essential characteristics, but we've also found things that really haven't worked well, and we'd like to share some of those with you today too. So the first essential characteristic is what we call cross-pollination. We strategically look for visitors that will allow us to partner up studio departments, particularly ones that don't tend to collaborate. We look for visitors who will bring ideas and projects to students that are going to resonate across campus, but we think it's valuable when things don't align perfectly. We want students to have to reach and think about how their ideas and their work can be adapted by stretching into fields that they're not normally thinking about. For the programs that Trisha and I build, we actually don't bring visiting artists and designers. We bring thinkers of different types, and that may seem strange for a graduate program in art and design, but those visitors are coming through our studio programs already, and our aim is to do something differently than that. So we bring voices from other fields to vary the conversations on campus. This is a list in the last few years of some of those subjects and why we've chosen visitors to come to campus.
Sarah mentioned just a moment ago outsiders, and while that's true, we find, though, that our best visitors are ones that really see connections between their field of study and our own. And these common threads are visitors bring subject matter that is really permeable. The effects of their visit are often felt later, though. The synthesizing of ideas often appears unexpectedly after they have left. And this is something we've really had to be patient with. And it is very hard to really suspend judgment on the success of a visit until time has passed. We've listed curiosity, openness, and warmth here, and that may seem really obvious, but to be honest here, we really mean personality. We look for visitors who are collaborators, who are generous with their knowledge and experience and want to share with our students. The best visitors are people who are curious, who are open, approaching their ideas sort of as a question and an opportunity for dialogue. They love, they will be learning as much as they will be teaching, and they simply have to love being in an immersive environment of art students. No matter the intelligence or the career experience or expertise, if our visitors aren't generous, it really doesn't work. And for us, time really matters. We want you to stay a while. A longer visit allows guest thinkers and our students to engage in a way that a quick day-and-a-half trip just can't provide. Rather than dropping in for just a lecture, our visitors may give a 3-day workshop on fashion and feminism or a week-long seminar on regional curating. Some stay for the entire semester. More time allows ideas and relationships to move beyond teacher and student, and subjects can meander, and learning really becomes unscripted.
We think that agitating an academy through a visit takes time, and so having our visitors stay a while really adds to a critical component to the program, which is informal time. And this is something that we mentioned a little bit over the lunch hour breakout session. We are certainly having our visitors do formal things like lectures and workshops, but we're really conscientiously making sure that we block time in their visit that is unscheduled and unscripted, because we really think some of the best thinking happens at the kitchen table, in early morning coffee, on a walk across campus, and we want to make sure that we leave that time in their visit. We've also noticed that formal time, look at how we are now, is when students in the audience are receiving information and someone is delivering that to them through a lecture. And it's through the informal time that students become the agents for the exchange and get to step forward with their own ideas and help to develop kind of the content of the exchange with the visiting thinker. In the same way that we leave unscheduled time in a visit, we really work hard to leave unscheduled time in our own program and our own semester, and that's so that we can be opportunistic with our visitors. We lay out a lot of our program in advance. Of course, we have to think about calendars and airline tickets and scheduling, but we really try to leave room so that when someone's in town that might surprise us, or when someone recommends a visitor to us, we can seize that opportunity. It's when we can take up recommendations from students, when we can partner with the Detroit community, and it's a way that we can let our longer-term visitors make invitations then to shorter-term visitors.
At the Academy, we also really need to listen. Our program is in many ways elective, so we don't have the structure of requirements and grades, so we really have to attract students rather than compel them. And our students help too. They really take up the charge and invite visitors, and sometimes we simply support them. It is their education after all, and it is really our responsibility to help give them that agency. And working from the ground up really means we have to pay attention and stay alert to what's happening both inside and outside the academy. And to do this, we leave the office. And it's a really hard part. It's hard to step away from our obligations and the demands of the office, and it's really tempting to just push our own agenda. But we have to look for content that comes really from all angles. It simply doesn't work otherwise. Another thing we really value is an in-person visit. We like the human to human. In the last 6 years, we've only brought a virtual visitor once. It isn't something we're terribly proud of, and we're not anti-technology, but we really see the difference. We imagine technology and virtual visits could really help open up a wider audience, and we're really still wondering how that might fit into the guidelines that we're presenting here to you. We recognize that our list really relies on having a person-to-person in real time.
So some of what we've outlined does rely on the fact that we have a fairly flexible curriculum, but we do see how these approaches could be adapted to other kinds of programs. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. In our experience, one of the sites of most freedom within a more conventional curriculum is the special topics class. So we had a couple of kind of dreams about how that might work. We've imagined a class, Special Topics 323, Dinner and Discussion. This is an undergraduate course that would allow students to orchestrate a program of visitors on behalf of their department. Students would develop an understanding of how the aims of a program can be built over the arc of the entire semester, each invited guest contributing a piece of the overall goal. At the same time, this would give students an opportunity to develop their social and interpersonal skills, which we think are not incidental at all in crafting a life in art and design. They would be involved in building everything from conceiving the theme of the program to picking up the visitors at the airport, They would host, they would cook a meal together, and have to activate a group conversation around dinner and an evening. And over the semester, the class would experiment with how one evening could then influence another, culminating in really a semester-long conversation. So we see this course as an experiment in giving students the skills in program building, networking, professional preparedness, menu planning, and socializing.
Or perhaps special topics 312, your everyday art world. Thanks, Lane Relier. Using Lane Relier's book as a foundation, this course would really guide students to search out and engage the network of art and design culture around them, both on and off campus. Drawing from regional resources, both large and small, students would organize a program for their design. The implications of this real-life research could be borne out through readings or writing projects, online forums, and the result of the program itself.
I think there are a lot of other things that could be adapted from these ideas, and we know that many of you are work on thinking about how to adapt your programs to address ideas like this already. We've really focused on two that would leverage the resources that are already on campus and in the community, and would give students an active role in shaping the content of their own class. It would ask students to collaborate and offer something of consequence to their campus community. And it would create a foundation for later life, so giving them a start at developing a network, and as I mentioned, developing social, professional, and intellectual skills in new ways.
These were some of our smaller ideas, meant for individual courses, more in individual schools. Next are the untested ideas, the partial ideas that require a little bit of dreaming. We've let budgets, time constraints, and details fall to the wayside in imagining some ideas that can connect us as ACAD schools.
So we're imagining an ACAD fellowship, and as Trisha and I sat in the lunch conversation and all these ideas came up, we thought, uh-oh, everyone's foreshadowing our presentation. This would be an agitator that would circulate through partner schools. I think it could start regionally and expand nationally. We see this as a way for ACAD to become an agent of a national art school conversation that would alert ACAD to common threads between member schools, overlapping themes, and also content differences between these schools. And we see a huge range of outcomes for this, linking students, linking faculties and chairs and deans, and then creating ACAD-wide content that could be shared. We also see this ACAD fellowship as maybe sort of an academic term for what we'd really like to do. Marcus Sibbins' students proposed a cruise ship. We were thinking about a tour bus, and maybe Marcus's students would cruise through the Great Lakes, meet us in the Midwest, and we'd pick up on the bus from there. It's a venue-to-venue tour, more like a rock band than a fellowship. Somehow we'd get art student roadies involved in this project. We'd have attendant press, and of course it would have great posters. We know it would have great posters. And
good food. Food trucks, why not? While we're on traveling, we'd also like to propose ACAD to ACAD field trips, and we really have to credit Carl Berkemer from the Oregon College of Art and Crafts for this one. Another opportunity for special topics class. This would invite small class-sized groups from one ACAD school to visit another, putting students directly in conversation with their peers. Art students need each other. They need collaborators and thinking partners and a network of engaged peers to support the very likely many-pronged life they're going to be building.
So those are three of our favorite ideas, and we'll just close with a few more. We'd love to look into the possibilities of ACAD faculty exchanges. I know this is already being talked about, and it was mentioned at lunch. Virtual exchanges, for instance, web-based lectures that are being hosted for all ACAD schools, as well as student-to-student exchanges between ACAD schools in the virtual environment. And even though this is very likely fraught with problems, we see the possibility for an ACAD app that would be a crowdsourced or co-authored tool that invites ACAD program planners to rate and recommend successful visitors to each other. And if you think about Yelp, this would be the app. So you could look to your smartphone for that, but we do recognize it's likely to get political and problematic quickly. So we really think of this presentation as sort of an agitator toolkit. We've taken you through some of the essential characteristics of what we look for to make a successful visit. This is really the way that we kind of think of the visitor as a trickster visitor that will engage and push and wrestle with our communities. We recognize that we have different programs, but we really think the agitator can probably take its own form in your own programs in its own way.
We've also taken you through our imagination a little bit and suggesting a few new ideas that perhaps we can take on together. We don't have all the answers, of course. Testing ideas, failing, and really sharing the results can disrupt our old habits and make room for new programs.
So thank you very much.